Let's talk about the technical foul. Specifically, let's talk about sections 5 and 6 of what the rulebook says about technical fouls. The first 4 sections are stuff like delay of game and calling timeouts when you don't have any left. These are boring, but section 5, conduct, and section 6, fighting, that's the good stuff. These calls are maybe the most subjective calls a referee can make in a game where a lot of the calls already depend on the ref's judgment. You can usually be objective with regular personal fouls. You're not allowed to grab someone's shoulders as they go up for a shot, you're not allowed to punch Dirk Nowitzki in the nuts, etc. But technical fouls are another beast entirely. Let's look at what the rulebook says. An official may assess a technical foul without prior warning at any time. A technical foul may be assessed to any player on the court or anyone seated on the bench for conduct which, in the opinion of an official, is detrimental to the game. Letting referees call fouls based on what they feel is detrimental to the game is pretty wild when you think about it. Who's to say what's detrimental to the game? If you listen to Jeff Van Gundy commentate, he'll tell you 20 different things that are detrimental to the game. If he was a ref, he'd be allowed to call techs on anyone who tries to draw a charge, which doesn't sound like the worst thing in the world to me, but anyway. While a lot of people probably hate for something so subjective to affect the game and hate the idea of referees inserting themselves into the game, I think these people are wrong. Basketball is a game of personalities, so I think it only makes sense that part of the game is a subjective assessment of a player's personality. And because getting technicals is subjective, being good at it is, in a way, art. And my favorite unsung artist of the technical foul was Larry Sanders. In my opinion, Larry is one of the more fascinating players of the 2010s. He didn't play basketball until 9th grade, which is not necessarily unusual for big men because when you get to be a certain size, you kind of have to play basketball. But what was unusual was how quickly and naturally he understood how to play high-level defense, which does not usually come easy to young bigs. In his first 3 years in the league, among players with as many minutes as Larry, he posted the 3rd, 2nd, and highest block percentages in the league. And in each of his first 3 seasons, no one who played fewer minutes than Larry Sanders posted higher defensive win shares. His sample size was limited, but he caught the eye of advanced stat geeks early. But what caught my eye as a lover of the technical foul was this sequence from an April game against the Pacers in Larry's 2nd season. The Bucks are down 10 with 4 minutes to go. Now let's go through the play-by-play. Personal foul Larry Sanders, jump shot David West. Missed 3 by Mike Dunleavy, rebound Roy Hibbert, personal foul Larry Sanders, technical foul Larry Sanders, Danny Granger makes the free throw, personal foul Larry Sanders, personal foul Larry Sanders, technical foul Larry Sanders ejected from game. All of that in less than 1 minute. This was abnormal at the time. Larry fouled a lot, as most young big men do, but the technicals were new. He recorded none his rookie season. Off the court, Larry was a shy, introverted guy. Maybe this worked against him. One of the things refs look for when giving out technical fouls is a reaction they deem over the top. If Larry's baseline personality was calm, then as soon as he acts up, the ref may see that as over the top. Do you think I'm very dumb for suggesting that? Well, listen to the modern king of irritating refs, Draymond Green.
As many texts as I get, I do think I get away with more because they're just more accustomed to me talking the way that I talk.
By Draymond's logic, by starting from a baseline of always yelling at the refs, that raises the ref's standard of what constitutes over the top for him. Does that work? Well, maybe. Supporting that thesis is Tim Duncan, who starts from a baseline of never having showed an emotion all his life, so when he started giggling on the bench, Joey Crawford was like, "Holy shit, what are you doing?" and ejected him. Working against that thesis is Rasheed Wallace, who starts from a baseline of terrorizing refs for fun, so when he looked at Ron Gerritsen funny, Gerritsen was like, "I don't want to deal with this guy today," and ejected him. Again, each ref is different. This is all subjective. But it was his 3rd season, his only season playing more than 900 minutes, the season where he more than doubled his minutes played in any other season, where Larry really took off as a technical fouler. He also placed 3rd in most improved voting and 7th in defensive player of the year voting, but let's focus on the important stuff here. Before we look at some of Larry's best technical foul performances, I want to look at a bonus clip. It's tip-off of a game against the Bobcats. The ref tosses it up, Larry gets the tip, and he immediately clocks the ref with his elbow. This was obviously accidental, and Larry wasn't punished for it. The ref who got clocked was Bill Kennedy, who's a long-time respected ref across the league, and he's tough enough to shrug it off. But a different, more petty ref? Like Scott Foster? Larry could have easily earned the quickest ejection in NBA history. Again, he was really good at this stuff. So let's take a look at 3 of Larry's best performances. In another game against the Pacers, 1 year after his dominant minute of fouling, here Roy Hibbert draws a foul on whatever this is, and Larry disagrees. Larry yells at the ref, and in less than 10 seconds picks up 2 techs and an ejection. Artistic points for ruthless efficiency, calling back earlier themes of getting ejected against the Pacers, and we can only assume creativity and language. Next up, this game against the Heat. Larry gets called for a foul against LeBron. Larry yells at the ref, picks up a tech, challenges, picks up another, gets ejected. After the game, he makes a statement saying the refs are biased in favor of the Heat. He picks up a $50,000 fine for that. Artistic points for speaking controversial truths and taking monetary losses on it, as well as foreshadowing. This year, the Bucks would get swept by the Heat in the playoffs after Brandon Jennings infamously promises Bucks in 6. And the coup de grace. Bucks Wizards. Larry gets called for a foul after John Wall slides in front of him to take a charge. Again, a rule some people would call detrimental to the game. He argues the call and, again, gets 2 technicals and an ejection. Afterwards, he gives each referee an aggressive thumbs up with a gigantic cheesy smile on his face. Artistic points for showmanship. These 3 performances alone make for an impressive season. But here's what takes Larry to another level. The dates of those 3 games? March 13th, March 15th, March 22nd. In a 10-game span, Larry Sanders picked up 6 technical fouls, 3 ejections, and $95,000 in fines. The all-time record for technical fouls in a season is Rasheed Wallace with 41. This is completely unbreakable after the league started giving 1-game suspensions after 16 techs in a season. But over that span in March, Larry showed that he could rack up techs as well as anyone. He went on to finish the season with 14 technical fouls and 5 ejections. It was Larry's ability to escalate a technical to an ejection that made him particularly special. It was a level of control rarely seen in basketball. As LeBron James is to the pace of a game, as John Stockton was to the pick and roll, Larry Sanders is to converting a tech to an ejection. The 2012-2013 season was the last full season of Larry Sanders' career. After a 25-game suspension for smoking weed as well as a thumb injury from getting into a fight at a nightclub, Larry stepped away from the NBA and the Bucks bought out his contract. We would not get to see the heights of Larry's talents as a defender or a technical fouler. Since stepping away from the NBA, Larry has been vocal about his struggles with depression and anxiety throughout his playing career, and to be absolutely clear, the point of this video is in no way to poke fun or make light of those struggles. Larry talked about how he struggled with being a passionate person, but often not finding joy in basketball. A lot of people may be put off by someone as gifted as Larry not finding passion in the game, but I disagree with that. Again, basketball is a sport of personalities. Everyone's is different. After he stepped away from the game, Larry pursued some different avenues in the arts. He started a fashion line, managed a photographer, and started producing music, even receiving a production credit on Party Next Door's album P3. Like I said, technical fouling is an art. Hell, look at some of the top technical foulers of all time. You have people like Shaq, a rapper, video game star, and someone who gives a legit great performance in Blue Chips. Kevin Garnett, who's great in Uncut Gems. Charles Barkley, who's a regular host on SNL. And Rasheed Wallace, who's been a vocal activist for Flint during their water crisis. These are passionate guys whose passion led them to excel in a bunch of different areas. And then you have Dennis Rodman and Karl Malone, who don't really fit the thesis I'm working with, so let's just ignore them. In recent years, Larry has attempted to come back into the league. He signed a deal with the Cavs in 2017, but only played 5 games with them. He was also drafted into the Big 3 last year, the 3-on-3 league founded by Ice Cube. And as recently as this past NBA Finals, he shot his shot to the Heat and to the Bucks, who are still paying him $1.9 million a year. Obviously, I'm rooting for him to make it back to the league just because I think he's a fascinating guy. Do I think he'll make it? Maybe not. But asking on social media for work you know you'll never get, if that's not the sign of a true artist, I don't know what is.